All right, so here we are again with another episode of TTM Chat, and we have a world-renowned author and turntablist, Maria Chavez.
Hi.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
And I'm really, really excited. I still don't have a copy of the book, but I really want to get a copy of it.
Better get it now. There's only 9 left. So
So I'll
I
definitely
think
be one of
they'll
those
sell
9.
it soon. Yeah.
That's great. And what's the book called again?
It's called Of Technique, Chance Procedures on
Oh,
Turntable.
great.
I wrote it in 2012, and I'm shocked that it's still even discussed now because it was self-released. You know, I didn't have any help making it or releasing it, and now it's on its 6th print. And I've been doing one print every few years because it's about 100.
That's great. That's great.
Each one, and I use this particular publisher who uses wind energy, veggie ink, recycled paper, so it's very expensive to make.
That's cool.
But
That's
I
cool.
really want to maintain a relationship with that printer because I think he has a really good idea about trying to preserve while still being in this industry that doesn't preserve. And so yeah, I'm surprised that the book is even still being used. A high school in LA just bought 25 copies.
Wow, that's great.
So I was just like, where did all this interest come from?
Yeah. Who are some of your influences? You know.
As far as what, like the turntable itself, or in general?
Was it true that you did something with Mark Clay? Christian Mark Clay, because I got a chance to see The Clock, which was, to me, that's the most. I'm a filmmaker as well, and that's the most amazing film I've ever seen. And I didn't even get to see the whole thing. I had to use the bathroom. I wish I had known that you couldn't use the bathroom and come back in at the Loma, or I would have just like gone in there like.
Paula Cooper, you could have gone.
You know, yeah, they went. They're like, "No, sorry, you can't go back in if you have to use the bathroom." I was like, I want to see more. I want to see more. I was like, I'm trying to hold it. You know.
Which hours did you see?
I saw like.
Every hour is different.
I'm not sure what hours I can't remember what I was watching, but as far as samples of movies, I feel like maybe like Clockwork Orange was in there or something. Maybe Basquiat was in there or something.
It's all MGM films.
You know,
he had access to all the MGM films.
So it's just MGM.
Yeah. He also used that collection for his visual scores that I performed in for his solo show at the Wake Museum, and I actually performed in that exhibition the most out of all the other people that I was honored. But it's called Screenplay. That's what it's a series of video compositions that are spliced images from MGM films and that he created into compositions that we had to watch and respond to however we wanted. And so it was very open. But sometimes there were like hand gestures in the clips, and so then you would try to participate with.
So it's in sync with the film. That's
and then of course with that it's just natural. We all have it's called the McGurk effect, where our minds try to sync what we hear with what we see. I actually made an installation that abuses the McGurk effect with the turntable for the House for Elektronische Künste in Basel a few years ago for an exhibition there. And that one is just like one broken record that's jumping around, the needle's jumping around on a broken record, and it's in relationship to a glitchy video that I made. And then the glitch, it's really a piece about glitch more so than about turntable or anything. And when you're watching it and you're listening to the bouncing needle, it almost sounds as if it's synced together, but it's just your mind. And then afterwards people are like, what video program did you use to sync that? And I'm like, nothing, it's just your head. So that's what Mark Clay also did, was using the McGurk effect with this screenplay.
That's great, and that's cool that you mentioned glitch too, because you know, I think I don't know, was it SoundCloud? I don't think it's SoundCloud, but somebody was posting, maybe it was Bandcamp was posting something like the Bandcamp official page was like, hey, look at all these top 10 glitch hop people. And you know when people talk about, when people say glitch hop, they mean like
is that really a thing?
Yeah, you know, glitch hop is artists like the biggest would be the guys what are they called? Not C2C would be considered glitch hop. They're Turntablism out of France. But just like down tempo kind of glitchy like Debris, would be considered glitch hop. Prefuse 73.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
like of IDM, the more hip hoppy IDM. So even Borgia Clan is not glitchy. Even Autechre can be glitchy sometimes, and they get into people would call that glitch hop. It's like, hey, it's like a hip hop beat, but it's all glitchy.
So Cloud Dead too, right? Like that.
Yeah, Cloud Dead. Yeah, even Anycon stuff. Yeah. So yeah, people consider that glitch hop, but more glitch as in what's the guy's name? They're really big now. I can't remember the name of the group, but yeah. But what's interesting about that term glitch hop is because people when they're referring to it, they're talking about stuff that doesn't have anything to usually outside of hip hop, like people that are like in electronica and they're like, hey, I'm just playing breaks that are this speed that's similar to hip hop. But I've always felt that the early turntablism stuff was the early glitch and was the breakcore and all, because if somebody's going like that, like that's what breakcore is. When people are like, hey, we just invented breakcore in the mid '90s or something. But it's like, yeah, you could say that's breakcore. I mean, of course it came out of that, but you could say a lot of stuff first, because even with the jungle music, Goldie was living in Florida for a second and introduced to the breaks and stuff like that, and turntablism and all that stuff was happening before that. Mark Clay was before all that, and it's interesting with Mark Clay. He does say that he has no connection with hip hop. What's your stance on that? Do you feel that somebody can be an island within a culture, like, hey, they're in New York City and hip hop's coming up and there's turntablists on the air? Do you think that somebody can
I think it's a two-tiered response, because hip hop is turntablism on the act of manipulating a turntable is as old as the gramophone itself. Exactly. We have, and I think your timeline also shows that, right? Like it goes.
Well, no, that's just I'm going to be doing a pre-apartheid.
That's like
because my timeline. Yeah, I have a link. And yeah,
so
I'm gonna make T-shirts of that too.
Thank you so much for including me in that. That really, when I saw it, I was like, wait, am I?
Yeah, because it's 1967 about to 2017. And that's like, because 67 was when interracial marriage became legal. So I'm like, okay, that's officially the end of apartheid in the U.S. So that's like a post-apartheid timeline. So I'm gonna do a pre-apartheid timeline where it's like, because you can't, because when you do a time like that, you have to take into account, like, hey, this is apartheid timeline. A lot of people don't, when they talk about the Industrial Revolution or things like that, they're not taking into account that, like, hey, a lot of people weren't allowed to even file for the patents. Women, people that weren't white,
Right.
So,
or even have access to playback technologies because of the classism around capitalism at the time,
And if they invented something, a guy would just steal it. Like a woman just invented some type of thing, the guy would just take credit for it or whatever,
Still the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's still happening. It's like, hasn't been that long. It's only been,
But I think to go back to your question, to assume that hip hop embodies all turntablism, I think is problematic in itself.
Yeah, that's good.
I see hip hop as its own genre that completely revolutionized the music industry. And I think, due to what you're saying, this post-apartheid, it's just inherently racist that hip-hop and hip-hop turntablism has been kept down the way it has been, by being vilified, by being seen as this, ghetto, this lower income, based work, which
all the genre names, like dirty, right? Dirty, funky, right? Grime, right?
Exactly.
And broken beat. If it's a white artist, it's IDM. If it's a black artist, they messed up. They broke the beat.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, it really does trickle. It really does. You see it in all sorts of things. I mean, especially in academia. Now that I teach in these different programs and things, I witness it too, and so I do feel that there is an importance in trying to include hip-hop turntablism in sound art, because technically just to put your hand on the turntable plate is manipulating a glitch. And
exactly, from the start, from the beginning.
The only thing that makes it seem normal is the fact that it was beat driven.
Yeah, okay.
And so
exactly.
with the rhythm, people think it's music. And of course, that was the goal of hip hop, is to sample in order to make musical formations.
Like club turntablism, basically, versus, because you can argue that
Right, because
music
if you're in a
concrete
club
and all the stuff that was happening before.
right, with tape splicing.
Exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
That was really meant for as a theory.
Exactly,
And, so I feel like none of my work is derived from hip hop practice at all. I don't pull back a beat to try to manipulate for musical formation, but I am on a rotating motor. So a rhythm is inherent to the machine. And for me to avoid and try to ignore that is not being honest to the machinery itself. And so I do think that there is some relationship, but it really is based on how each genre decides to interact with this machine. It's really the machine that is the leading line of everything. And I just think I really have a huge respect for the hip hop music. The fact that they created two brand new genres in the music industry in the mid 70s to early 80s, hip hop being one of them, and then the age of the remix completely gave music industry a new breath of life. And the fact that academia nor the industry itself will give hip-hop that kind of credit. Also the effect worldwide. It's not just Western world. It's there are tiny tribes in Colombia, in South America, that are rapping in their own tiny little language.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was just there, actually.
Oh, really?
And you should apply. I was teaching with the U.S. Department of State. They have a program called the Next Level Program. And what they do is they send like a DJ, a rapper, all teachers, like a DJ, rapper, a breakdancer. I think they added beatboxing,
so cute.
And like a producer, and to developing countries all around the world.
It's like a little box of talent.
It's kind of like they've had a long history of they had the jazz messengers and things like that. They're doing that back in the Cold War and trying to bring American culture to people all around the world. And so every year they choose like 5 different countries and send 5 different artists. So they choose like 25 artists a year maybe. You should definitely apply for it. I'll send you a link to it, and I'll put a link to it. And shout out to Marquez and the whole Next Level crew that's making it happen. And every year they're just really doing a great service, and they're sending teachers to developing countries. And so they sent me to Cartagena. They sent me to Cartagena. I was there for like 2 weeks in Colombia at Cartagena. And
is it Cartagena in Colombia?
Cartagena, Colombia. It's in the I guess kind of northern, little bit of a region. It was a really, really beautiful place, right on the water. And it's just an amazing thing just to being able to, see, like you were saying, the hip hop culture. Even in the small villages. In the
villages, yeah.
I mean,
you don't know of any other, like maybe rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Maybe reggae, because people. I was in Egypt,
reggae for sure,
and I was like,
yeah.
and I was like, you never heard of Jay-Z? He's like, no, I never heard of Jay-Z. And they're like, well, they heard of Bob Marley.
Right.
And they're like kids in the street, like 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds. They heard of Bob Marley, but they don't know Jay-Z.
Yeah. Reggae is a really good one too. But I don't feel like reggae revolutionized the industry the way hip hop did, because it was so different. Just the idea of remixing. Where would we be without remixing? I feel like there's just. I really hope someday.
Oh yeah, right. New York.
I just hope someday, and I hope with my work and also talking and being interviewed, especially when I'm in universities and things, I always make sure to talk about hip hop in this way, so that students understand that we are not free from the racism of academia. Even if you're in it, you need to recognize how academia is treating this and how the music industry is also treating it. I do think it gets a really bad rap, and so I hope to help change that as an individual within it. In the little bit that I can.
Great. You're doing so much.
I'm trying.
When I see all your accolades, it's a lot. So one, I do want to ask Ian there's two questions. One, I want to get back to your influences, and then two, I want to ask you about the grant writing process. Because I started getting into grant writing process, and then at a certain point I just gave up. I was like, okay. I give up. I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna come back and do it again.
This is the only job where you can give up on something and get away with it. Like no other real job would you be able to give up on any. And that's how I see grants. It's a job. It's your job.
Yeah, it's a real job. It's not very hard. That's one of the hardest jobs in the world because everybody can't do it.
No, everyone can do it. They're just too lazy.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Every year, there's more and more people graduating from art school.
Yeah.
So then if you graph the number of
I don't believe
if you graph the number of grants over the that's not maybe they're increasing slowly. The number of art school students is exponentially increasing. It's like 1 billion people. China's allowed to have 2 kids now. That's a lot more art students.
Right.
It's gonna be a lot more kids applying for the same grants. And like, hey, we're all going for the MacArthur grant, or we're all going for.
Well, you can't apply for the.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You have to be nominated for that
one.
But
what I mean, like
I don't believe that.
Okay, you don't think that it's getting harder and harder?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. Because the work still stands alone.
Yeah, because to me, anybody that wins the grant is like, wow, they're amazing to be able to cut through all the applicants.
But you also don't know what the judges are wanting. They're always looking for a specific thing, and really what they're doing is cutting through the fat. Like even if you mix up a submission or something, you're out. It's not a personal thing when they're going through and you're not getting the grant, because ultimately applying for a grant is not. You're not applying for the act of winning it. You're applying because you are developing your language of how to discuss your work. Because how is anyone supposed to support you if you don't know what you want and if you don't know what you're actually doing? And the simplicity of it is really the key. But the only way you can get that simplicity is if you apply all the goddamn time.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to do it a lot just to get one.
Yeah, and the thing is even if you apply it 1 billion times, you might not win one for 3 years, but your name is still in these groups with the judges, and these judges are still reading your applications, especially if your application does get to a certain point, which a lot of people don't tell you how far it's gotten.
Very important.
So you don't know that. But I've actually received a lot of invitations for exhibitions based on grant proposals that I didn't win.
Wow, that's great.
But that they saw, and then they took my name and they're like, oh yeah, her, and then they brought me on for something else. So you're not applying to win. And I think that kind of mentality is why people give up. And it's really dangerous and just not healthy to think of grant writing that way. It's supposed to help you. It's supposed to help you. You have your templates for your reference letters. You're all prepared with your work samples. You constantly have to create new digital portfolios and for new work samples that different grants request. And then by the time you've applied 10 times in a year, you have it all in a folder, and then you just knock it out. And then you're a machine. It's really not that hard, and I think people give up because they expect to win, and that's not what grants are for. That's not why I apply. I don't apply to win.
Oh yeah, totally.
I apply because I have a new idea and I need to explain it, and it's not there yet. So that when I'm in front of an audience or anyone, I can just say it as clear as possible, and there's no question.
Yeah, that's really good advice because to all the musicians or just artists out there, you don't have to. There's a million ways that you can succeed as an artist. You don't have to be worrying about bars that smell like beer. I grew up in Milwaukee, and when I was a kid in the 80s, we drive through downtown, and all the beer factories are really strong.
Yeah.
So I've always had a repulsion to smell beer. I never drink beer. And
I drink beer.
Yeah.
Vodka soda's on.
And so it's just like this. When I was younger and I was trying to do parties, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm standing here waiting. Gotta wait for the bar to finish. You don't have to. There's so many things. There's so many different realms of DJing now that there's. It's almost infinite realms. You could be a consultant. You could be teaching. You can be doing grants. All the above. You can do everything. Yeah, that's really great to see that. So back to the influences. What? So.
I thought I got out of that question.
ask. I try to always ask everybody their influences.
Yeah, I really, I don't believe in influence or inspiration. I think we're in the 21st century. Inspiration is now mimicking, and I'm not interested in mimicking. Influences, I guess, I would say Pauline, of course, Pauline Oliveros.
Okay.
But because I worked with her and I watched her and I learned her practices before I even understood who she was.
Yeah, they can be contemporary.
As an icon. She was a really important a woman to teach me how to survive in this world, and her support meant so much to me. It gave me a lot of confidence. Made me feel comfortable enough to be able to put myself out there. I miss her every day now that she's gone.
Wow.
She passed away in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Are you familiar with her work?
No,
Pauline
actually,
Oliveros? She developed the term deep listening. That's her trademark term. Yeah. So if you ever use that, it's she wrote the book Deep Listening, I believe, in '76.
Wow,
but before that, '73 was Sonic Meditations, which is a really great book too, and is now like the premise of a lot of improvisers, famous improvisers that use this certain listening technique to perform. And that's what I grew up learning. So I would say if I had to use that terrible word influence, it would be Pauline and her patience, her egoless approach, not to perform to be heard, but to perform because it belongs, and there's no other place that it can be. It has to be right now, and that to me is a really inspiring, like in that term, inspiring way of moving forward and performing when you feel stuck. And that's something that she taught me, that she developed.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it seems like what she's doing is very scientific. Would you call yourself a scientist?
No.
Because, whenever I hear people talk about practice and, when I think practice, I think practitioner, and you're a practitioner,
Well, I don't practice at home.
But to be a practitioner, you don't have to necessarily practice because just as, like in Nigeria, they have, witch doctor, shaman systems of divination. So divination can be which is interesting about records because, I got a bunch of records too that you could have, you could destroy. All my records are like shuffled up cards because over the years it's like, oh, I did a party back in the day and I always put them in the wrong places, or like, oh, I put these 5 in one, so probably 90% of my records are all out of the sleeves, maybe 70%.
Me too.
And so then anytime, so me exploring records is almost like a whole kind of divination thing where it's like, oh look, I forgot I had that record, or I didn't even know I had that record.
Yeah.
That's my friend's record. That's not even my
It's more fun.
record. And it's like pulling a card out,
Yeah.
And my friend, he's a painter. He pulled out 2 cards, and it's funny because his name is Andre Bear. Shout out to Andre Bear. The first record he pulled out, the name on it said Angel, like the company. It was like some record from the 1940s or something, and it's like like Angel Productions, da da da. And then it was like so weird. And then he pulled out another record, and it was like something like the devil wears these shoes or something. It was just so weird that he put out Angel and Devil randomly, and he was making a diorama, and as part of the diorama, and I'll show a picture of that, and those 2 records are in there. It's just so weird, He's just like, he randomly pulled them out of the thing. Yeah. So that's, so for me, art, in practice, necessarily doesn't have to be, what I meant practice and being a practitioner, not that's like practicing for a battle, but I mean like practitioner, so.
Yeah, I don't really know where I am now. I have to be honest. I'm coming to a new phase in my work where I really hate everything. And I really hate to play, and although with the double needle that I'll show later,
that's what I'm saying. That's super scientific to me.
But that was also by chance. That was given to me by chance by King Britt, and I actually finally met the inventor of it. Did you see this video that went viral from New Sounds? NPR Music picked it up.
No. New Sounds, the group back? I mean, like the DJ group?
No, New Sounds, it's this video series on Facebook and on YouTube.
Oh, okay, nice.
That interview different artists.
And so they found who's the first person to have a double needle?
No, well, I did this video and it went super viral. And this guy, the inventor, saw it. and he saw that I was using the needle, and he reached out to me. He's like, is that a double needle? And I was like, oh my God, I've been looking for you everywhere.
What's his?
His name is Randall Sandin, and his double needle company was called Rake.
He reached out to me too, because I had a double needle in the early 2000s, and he reached out to me. Is he from Puerto Rico?
No, he's white.
I'm thinking but he had the Rake. He called it the Rake.
The Rake.
Yeah, because I posted he posted a picture of the Rake.
I got the original Rake right here. Unfortunately, I got some water now because I tour so much. But I have a bunch of needles with me. So, but this is him. My beast. Same styli that I've been using since King sent it to me in 2016. Still sound great, although it does need a little bit of work now. But see how he split it up that way? And then had it placed on the head shell. He has a couple different configurations with the orthophone bodies too. Those are the ones I really want because I bet those fly. This one's kind of clunky. Actually, for my turntablism techniques, I really hate Stanton needles because they're so blocky and heavy. But now that I've been improvising with this for so long, it's just a weight distribution issue that I think I'm getting more clear about with my turntables when I improvise.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been using my Stanton because mine has lasted longer. All my shores just broke over the years. People, they always got bent, and my Stanton just never got bent. Yeah,
no, Stanton, I'm pretty impressed with how long they've lasted. So. Shout out to Stanton. I'm convinced now.
I'm going to show you a picture of this double needle that I have from way back. Speaking of double needles and all that type of stuff, how do you feel about?
I was really upset when I first improvised with this. I have to be honest.
Oh wow, really?
It was too easy. The work sounded too good. And I don't like to sound good.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up a picture while you're talking. I'm going to pull up a picture on Facebook of the double needle. So I'm going to talk about the double needle because I like to get into the real. I'm going to have the pictures, the details of the science. As far as how do you feel about because that's the interval when you have two sounds being able to play at once.
And it's I believe on the grooves it's about a 5-minute separation in between.
Oh, really? That's 5 minutes. The distance.
Actually, I want to say between 3 and 5.
Wow, that's cool.
It really depends. So for a 45, it's right at the beginning and right at the end. I never really thought about the distance. I never thought about the mathematics of the distance between two songs. Well, yeah, of course, because it's playing two parts at the same time. And normally I route it channel, since I have a 4-channel Allen Keith, channel 4 is left. Channel 3 is right, and I only put in one phono at one phono in on each channel.
Yeah, keep it mono, so
that it'll just come on each side, and then for stereo it gives a nice little mini multi-channel performance, which actually works well in small venues.
So let me look at this.
Yeah.
So I'll show a picture of this. I did this. I did this around maybe 2000. The early 2000s.
Did you show Randall?
I can't. Yeah. He posted a thing on it. Like he probably posted in the comment section. He's probably.
But that
Randall Sandin Jr.
is up higher than the others. So
Exactly. Because I was just I had limited mechanical knowledge. I just put it on because there was an extra hole there, and so I had them. They're staggered.
Oh, okay.
And so I wasn't trying to be like, hey, it's delay. I was just like, hey, I could do the scratch drum and because back then, the Pickles already had those records where it's like the no skip records where it's like the scratch sound and then like a bass sound. So then it's like, oh yeah, I can scratch the scratch sound and I have the bass sound and do that. And I was doing the thing with the keeping it mono so that you can do that. I had the what you call the Qbert ISP mixer that has the quadraphonic thing with the 4 outputs, but I never used that. I never got to use it as it was intended for a club. He intended it so you could have 4 speakers surround sound somebody, and then you could go like this. It was like a little joystick on the mixer to where you could be like, oh look, that make the sound swirl around somebody. Exactly. Yeah. And nobody, people. Exactly. Yeah. You have to.
My boyfriend runs this organization called CT Swam that only focuses on spatial sound presentation.
Wow, that's cool.
And even has a Midas board and everything, and 8 QSC speakers. It'll actually be this weekend at Friedman Gallery. He'll have the whole setup there, and I'll improvise with this trio that I play with all the time in 8.1. So I do that with my Allen Heath Zone mixer, and I'll do 2, like aux 1, aux 2, and then I'll route it to the mains, and then that way I can choose like one side of the needle can be speaker 2, speaker 4, and the other side can be speaker 1, speaker 3, and then I can just decide which side comes out of what whenever I'm in, just because I do full-on hand manipulation. I don't. Cause the difference between my turntablism and hip hop turntablism is hip hop turntablism is dealing with cross-fader mechanics and speed and choreography. And then
most of it, because there's some people, there's overlap, and then there's hip hop artists that aren't even using a crossfader. Have you heard of vinyl terror and horror?
Yeah, but they're more in my scene because they also use. They're not really trying to pull back.
Exactly, vinyl terror and horror, but also you can even take it back to. You heard of Mysterio?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, Mysterio. You know, he was a magician. You know, so he's just doing magic tricks. So a lot of his stuff. You know, when he had the wobbly turntable, he's like the wobble wobble. He had the Lil Wayne wobble, but he's pushing like some type of foot pedal that has like a pressure thing or something. He has some type of piston or something. I don't know how he was doing it. But I don't think it was strings.
When I'm in like a DIY space where the floor is really old and bouncy, I'll have someone just stand and just jump.
So did you ever see the DJ Swamp set where I think DJ Swamp should have won the world at that point because I think he was the best at that point. But he won the USA. Yeah, where he smashes the record and he cut himself. You saw that?
Yes, I did.
DMC, you saw it? That's a classic. Put a little.
Have you used his music notation book for turntables?
The DJ Swamp.
Yeah, DJ Swamp's
No, I've never seen DJ Swamp's book.
Really? No, it's a whole official textbook. He's the head of the music department at Berkeley in Valencia now.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, he's like a major academic
DJ
guy.
Swamp, or are you talking about Steven Weber?
Steven Weber, yeah.
Yeah, that's different. DJ Swamp is a different. He used to DJ for Beck. I have Steven Weber's book. Yeah, I've known Steven Weber for years.
But he also goes by DJ Swamp.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
what
interesting.
I didn't know there was.
There's a DJ Swamp. I didn't know Steven Weber goes by DJ Swamp. That's the interesting thing to know.
Yeah.
Shout out to Christy Z because we were just talking about. Christy Z was just posting about identical names within the DJ world, or like have you ever encountered another Maria Chavez that's a performance?
No,
okay, because I think there's some other Christy Z.
There's a girl in Iowa who's Maria Chavez, who's a visual artist.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So sometimes I'll see.
That's overlap. Yeah.
I think she has the Gmail account I want, and she wants to send emails over to me.
Exactly, because somebody might be like, "Oh my gosh, we love your work, and we want you to fly out to LA," and they're thinking that she's you. That's a problem within the industry. What's interesting is that there's a DJ named.
She's not nice. I'm the nicer Maria Chavez.
I got a DJ I know, a friend named Moray, right? And she was doing a bunch of scratching stuff, and any video that had her name in it got taken down. And I thought she did it, but it was a guy out of like Las Vegas or something that's like, "Hey, I'm the official DJ of Moray."
Right.
Anybody with the Moray on YouTube? So anybody on YouTube that had like a video was like, "Hey, look, it's me and my 5 friends and these 5 names." They took the video. They actually took the video down just for his name. He's like, it's trademarked and stuff
No,
like
I
that.
don't know any Maria Chavez in the sound or DJ scene that I'm in, which is actually really lucky because it's a totally like commoner, regular name.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone
it could happen. Yeah.
Everybody's Maria. Everyone knows a Maria somewhere.
Yeah, and I found a DJ radon in like Berlin, like a minimal techno DJ. I spin minimal techno too, but that's I rarely spin it. Like I'll throw in a couple of Mo Selector tracks or something. But but he closed down his My Page, but he has the official closed down his Facebook. Like he has the Facebook /DJ Radon, but it's closed. You know, so mine's like, you know, it's stupid. You know, he doesn't even use it now. You know, but he's like he'd rather keep it closed than let somebody else.
I guess I'm pretty lucky.
Take it.
I didn't think about that. That's a good point. And I don't go by any other names. I only go by Maria Chavez. Especially for DJ things, like that's sort of my statement. As far as, because you know, all you really see are bills. You don't see the show. And I feel like for DJ culture, I never see a Hispanic woman's name in full. And that's something that's really important to me. To just be like Maria Chavez, like no name, no pseudonym. I'm not trying to profit off of my indigenous, you know, my identity. This is just my name. This is what I was born with, and it should be. I want to see more female Hispanic names on DJ culture. I feel like
exactly. It should be everything should be 50-50. Everything. I think there needs to be unions. That's why I feel. I started a union called the United Turntablism Guild, and you know, I'm not asking people to do anything. It's more of a political thing. Like, hey, that like. For, you know, starting to kind of getting the ball rolling. The fact that, hey, like, we can have minimum wages, you know, we can fight for, like, hey, if you're going to have a festival, your lineup should be 50% women, and it should be 15%, you know, Black American, it should be you know, being able to have a union where, you know, just like with SAG and AFTRA and all these things, you know, actors weren't getting any money back in the 1800s, and then they formed a union like 1895 or whatever, you know, it's like late 1800s is when the first acting union started, and then it's like, hey, now actors are billionaires, and even though the lowest paid, you know, I did a lot of background acting for over a decade, and you know, everybody gets paid, even the lowest, you know, so it's like, now the lowest club DJ gets nothing, you know, maybe put their own money in it, you know, pay to play and all this stuff in LA, you know, it's crazy.
But I think there's something to it, you know, I feel like that's the filtration system, because Lord knows I still find myself in positions like that to this day, but I don't mind now because now I see it as my studio. It's more easy to focus on the mix. Now I'm just talking exclusively DJing, not turntablism. But it's more easy to like focus on different ideas or test out different ideas of beat matching when you're in that setting than if you're at home. Like I really hate practicing at home. It's so annoying, and I need the tension of the room. So I feel like in a way it's sort of part of it. And I think if people are willing to sacrifice everything, then you know, with time they'll probably be fine if they stick with it. You know, as Lord knows I've stuck with it for like 15 years now, and I feel like I'm just now starting to get to a point where I'm receiving, you know, enough respect and, you know, better paying gigs than before, much better paying gigs than before.
And do you also, you spin as well?
Yeah, I'm a DJ.
You parties as well? So what kind of parties, what kind of music do you play?
Depends on the gig. If it's like for MoMA, that I DJ'd a while ago, that was like intelligent electronic.
IDM
like Audacur stuff, like Sub Rosa label stuff. But then like if it's for a club, it just depends on the night. I'll get really, I really love, because when I was DJ when I was 16, 17, I was obsessed with Fiat Hooks and the whole French disco house scene, Deaf and Dumb Crew, Cry
Cassius?
Rule, Cassius of course, but he got a little too famous for that, you know, Bob Sinclair, you know, all those guys. And so I still have Justice, but he too.
You know,
you're picking all the really
those are my friends. Those are my friends. That's why I'm saying that. Shout out to Busy P, because Busy P he did some stuff with my friend homie Tess back in the day. But I did some music video for him, and he hooked me up with this contract.
No, but yeah, all the tracks that I play normally have to have some kind of funkiness to them, even if it's minimal techno or whatever. But if the party's like Hunter, then it's dark techno. Unless they want ambient, then I can do straight up. But, you know, I've been a DJ since I was 16. And I'm all straight now. I have a shitload.
Yeah, me too. 39.
Yeah, and it's like, I can play to the room. Like I just DJ'd at Brick the other day, and that was more like African tropicalia sound. I'll play a show in Toronto where it's like strictly cumbia.
So what came first, DJing or turntablism?
DJing.
Oh, really? Okay.
the avant-garde, and I'm really grateful.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
really
what happens.
glad
Yeah,
they pushed me out.
Totally. But I'm seeing out of people that I know, I'm always like, wow, look, she's traveling all around the world. So you're just saying you just came from Detroit, and where are your biggest fan bases?
It changes every few years, but right now it's definitely the UK. It's huge all over the UK. I love you guys. I think because I had my fellowship in London for a few years, and just.
And what was the name of that? What was that called?
At Goldsmiths University in London, I was at the Sound Practice Research department. But because I'm a college dropout, I wasn't eligible for a Fulbright.
Oh wow!
So I couldn't move there
I didn't know that. That's
academic discrimination.
Yeah.
But I was able, because I tour so much, I was able to just go to London, just make time to go to London to spend time with the students. And
That's really cool. So how was Houston? What was the shift like coming from Houston to New York?
It's a really great scene, and there's a lot of great talent, especially sound and improvisation, music-wise. The talent there is top-notch. The performers are amazing. My old friends are still there, improvising and playing all the time. But as far as hip-hop is concerned, I just love this whole Third Coast self-managed music industry. And if the hip-hop track from Houston normally says, I don't need a major label, I'm already a millionaire.
Third Coast is cool.
Yeah, it's a Third Coast. Best Coast. And so I'm really proud to come from that scene. DJ Screw.
Exactly.
But there's a weird, Houstonians are oddly loyal to the city. I don't know why. I feel like.
So you rep Houston, like if you were to somebody to say like you're an artist, you're based in New York.
I was born in Peru, but I grew up in Houston.
Oh, okay, cool.
In Austin, Houston, mainly in Houston.
That's great.
That's where I got my start DJing and Turntablism. But yeah, I was DJ until I was 20. And then I got pushed out, and then I started improvising turntable with this group from Pauline Oldrose. I moved here, and wildly and naively thought I could make a living doing this, and now I am.
That's great, yeah.
Oddly enough.
Yeah.
So I've been manipulating this record for 7 years now, and there's some new scratches on it. It's so cool that you have a turntable that goes backwards, because then I can show you guys my backwards technique. But like I said before, it's very hands-on. It's very different from hip-hop turntablism, where you're trying to grab a beat and then push it forward. I'm actually not trying to grab a sound as much as I'm almost hovering over the grooves to find interesting moments, and then literally carving out the sounds with the needle, which then creates new scratches. So this is a literal sound sculpture that I'm doing by using the needle as almost as a live dagger. And every time I perform the piece, it never sounds the same, because it's impossible to choose the same moments again. So thanks for having me.
All right.
Great. That was great.
Thank you.
That was great.
Turntable.